Families Awards is such an exciting time for the Family Arts campaign. We get to really celebrate the amazing things that are happening in the sector. So just to introduce ourselves, so I'm Sophie Evans, I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Family Arts Campaign. And I'll just introduce my colleague as well, Daniela.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Daniela Gassman, and I'm the freelance project manager at the Family Arts Campaign.
Thank you for joining us here today. We really are quite open in hearing about all the amazing things that have been happening across the sector, from age-appropriate circus shows to using heritage artefacts for storytelling with older people, or from multicultural theatre to turning a gallery into a sanctuary for refugees. Such kind of a broad range. We celebrate creative provision for families and older people. So in this webinar, we'll help you understand how the application process works and how to best present your project. And there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end as well.
Yeah, so our webinar has 3 chapters. First, we talk about how to apply and why you should. Then we'll go into the judging criteria of the 3 different categories, and then we'll give you some tips for presenting a strong application, which is going to be very exciting. Okay, so let's jump right in. Why should you apply? So the chances are, if you're here, you're considering it, which is great. And like at the Olympics, being there is everything. So when you apply, you will learn what we consider best practice. You have a chance to kind of interrogate your work through the family arts lens, and maybe also create awareness for your work within your organization. If you get shortlisted, fantastic. You get to be in a shortlist film, and you get a spot on our website with a case study. And then you can go to our online ceremony in November. It's online, so you don't need to travel. And we do not tell the winners who won before the ceremony. So please come, because it'll be very exciting, because you don't know if you win until you win. And if you do win, then national recognition awaits you through our communications campaign and our winners film. You just saw the one from last year, so we'll make a new one this year. And then we will send you a badge and a certificate that you can use to signal to your audiences that you are an award-winning organization. And we also send you a winners pack to support your comms. So for example, if you want to send it to the local press, then we help you with that. So let's have a look at the application process. Even if you have applied previously, please pay attention, because we've changed it, okay? So the content, i.e. what we ask for, is the same. It's just the way how we ask for it that has changed. For the first time ever, we have an application portal online. So that's symbolized by the little green laptop here. And that's where you put the practical information, such as what is your name, and the monitoring information. And that is not used for judging your application. It's completely separate. It's just we need to know who you are, and we need to report to the Arts Council. And then here on the right, you can see the 3 different types of things that up your application that you can upload to the portal. So there's an application form, 1 per category. So make sure you pick the right form for your category. You download it from our website, you fill it in on your laptop in your own time, and then you upload it when you're done. Then you can supply up to 5 photos per application. So there's an upload space there. And you can also send us 2 pages of A4 digitally of supporting material. Do not try to game the system. Do not send us photos in the supporting pages, or vice versa, because if you send us more than 5 photos, we only look at the first 5 and then don't look at the rest, to make it fair for everyone. And a quick note about the online system. So there is an option to save your work, but you can only save the things that you have input, like your name, like the text boxes. Once you get to the upload stage, unfortunately, we're not there yet that you can save the uploads and continue later. So what we recommend is put your application together, have everything ready on your laptop, on your computer, all your photos, your supporting material, etc. And then when you have everything there, then just go and upload it all in one go, and then press submit.
Fab. So to be eligible for applying for the awards, we ask that you are signed up to either the Family Art Standards or the Age standards, or both. So what are the standards? So if you're new to the standards and you haven't heard of them before, so we have both the Family Art Standards and the Age-Friendly Standards. The Family Art Standards are a quality mark for organisations or arts providers committed to providing fantastic experience for families. And the Age-Friendly Standards are designed to complement the existing Family Art Standards. And so therefore organisations committed to providing quality welcome to older audiences, also family groups, including older people. So whether you do a lot of intergenerational work or whether you specifically do things for older people and are very committed to meeting their needs. So the standards are both a learning tool and a marketing tool. So both standards consist of guidelines, toolkits. So they're really useful for you and mean that you can also be featured on our Fantastic for Families directory. And those who sign up receive the quality mark or badge, which you can see on here, what those look like, which you can use across website marketing materials, for events for families or older people. And the badge really shows your commitment that you're taking into consideration the needs of those audiences or participants. And it's 100% free to sign up. So to do so, you determine if you're ready. So is your organisation able to commit to the guidelines? So you read through those. Is providing a fantastic experience for families and or older people really important to your work? And we believe it's really important for this to be something which is a commitment across your organisation. So not just one person or one department, unless you are a one-person team. So it's really important for us that you get buy-in from the chief executive or head of department, and it's something that the whole organisation is committing to. So we ask that the chief executive or head of department email confirmation to Anna, and her email's on there. At the end of this, I will put in some links as well, so kind of the standard pages, so you can get to those directly too. But yeah, so that's the standard. So to be eligible to apply for the awards, you'll need to sign up for the standards first if you haven't already. So the Fantastic for Families Awards, as we've said, is run by us at Family Arts Campaign. So if you're not familiar with Family Arts Campaign, and I know that quite a few probably are, but if you're new to us, then just to let you know who we are. What is Family Arts Campaign? So we're a sector support organisation for engaging families in arts, culture and creative opportunities. So mission, our goal is that together we can help every child and family access arts and culture. And so we support you and organisations like you with opportunities to learn, connect and be inspired. So through our learning resources, we put together resources. We have our Family Arts Conference and our Leadership Symposium. They alternate kind of every other year. And then we also have opportunities to connect through our family arts networks, which brings together cultural organisations in different local areas to work together, maybe sharing in their kind of marketing approach, maybe sharing in skill sharing or different kind of learning opportunities or fundraising opportunities together, and to be inspired. So we're all about championing the amazing things that are happening in the sector, which is, of course, why we run the Fantastic for Families Awards.
We're now going to talk about the 3 different categories. So as a reminder, there are 3 categories and you can apply and up to 2 different ones, but not with the same project. So for each project or activity that you have, you need to pick which category is the best fit. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the judging criteria, which are on the left of the slide. And for each category, we're going to explain them using a project that won last year that you saw in the film to show you how these judging criteria can manifest in real life. So our first example and our first category is Best Family Arts Activity. And the project is Apple and Spice by Sanskruti Cambridge CIC. And that is a show that brings together 2 stepmothers. One is the one from Snow White, and the other one is from the Indian tale of Ramayana. Now, our first bullet point on the left is called Appeal and Suitability for Different Age Groups Attending or Participating Together. And this one is probably the most common mistake that people make. But now that we talk about it in the webinar, it will not happen again, right? So the keyword is together because we receive a lot of applications where people outline why the activity is good for children, but that's part of the answer. But we also want to know about the rest of the family, right? Like imagine you have a theater show, but the parking is terrible. There's no breastfeeding space. The building isn't accessible. It's boring for the parents. So we want to know, what are you doing to make sure these families come back, right? Like to have a long-term relationship. We don't need to know about all age groups. We're not expecting you to have babies and teenagers there together, but we just want to know that you consider the family as a whole. So in this case, Apple and Spice. You saw it on the video earlier. The show is made for children 3 years and up, and their parents, like the parents enjoy it. It's very interesting for everyone to be there. The next bullet point is the involvement of families demonstrates an understanding of their needs in the planning, development, and delivery process. So have you considered what families actually want, or do you think you know? In this case, the show was tested in front of a primary school audience in order to find out whether children can understand the show no matter what their cultural background is. So for example, if they don't know who Snow White is, they can still understand what the story is about. The next one is high quality and imaginative content provides families with an engaging and enriching experience and inspires future re-engagement. So for example, in this case, you saw it earlier, we have children coming and dancing with the performers as part of the show. So what you see on the picture, these kids are not actors, they are from the audience. And it's really like their gateway into getting into these art forms and getting into the arts, because it's a very interactive experience. And the last one is evaluation incorporates feedback from target audience and demonstrates positive impact. So it's two parts. One, do you know what they think? And two, do they like it? And what are you doing with it? So for example, in this case, the company heard from the venues and from the parents that they really enjoyed the show. The venues that they worked with booked them again for next year. So that's always a good sign, right? If they ask you to come back. And also they used the audience feedback that they got for this show to create a new one, because now they know what people like. So those are the four best family arts activity.
So then we look at the judging criteria for the best age-friendly outreach. So one of our winners last year was Doncaster Cultural Services with History, Health and Happiness, which is a programme of community-based wellbeing activity. So having a look at the criteria for this award. So we were looking for content which is appealing and suitable for the needs of older participants. And Doncaster Culture Services used museum collections and storytelling to improve wellbeing for older people in this programme. And they really shared why this was particularly relevant for these participants, how it tackled isolation and improved mental health. They didn't just tell what they did, but why it was particularly suitable for those older participants. And then we've got involves target audience and demonstrates understanding of the range of needs that they may have in the planning, development and delivery process. So in the example of Doncaster Culture Services, they involved target audience and demonstrated an understanding of their needs. They told us how their activities were co-designed and took place at the heart of the communities. So for example, in community halls and areas with the highest levels of poor health and isolation. And then we've got developed partnerships to find the best ways to connect with older groups. So Doncaster Culture Services told us how they delivered in partnership with organisations who work with older participants and how they developed a community advisory panel, and how representatives from the partner organisations now sit on the Cultural Service Advisory Panel, so shaping the wider programming for the services. And then with the impact of the activity initiative on future engagement with older people, then they told us how participants started to visit the museum independently. So it's always great to hear like what impact and lasting kind of future engagement is there after kind of a project or event. And then the other thing that we want to hear about is the evaluation incorporating feedback from target audiences and demonstrating positive impact. So for Doncaster Culture Services, in their wellbeing evaluation, they outlined how in all but 4 of 97 cases where people arrived feeling at best neutral, they left feeling more positive than they arrived. So really telling us kind of the exact details of what that impact was, so we can really understand it, rather than just saying like it had a positive impact. How did it have a positive impact? How have you kind of like evidence or evaluated that from the event or initiative?
And our third category is audience impact and innovation. So what does innovation mean? It means you're doing something that you haven't done before that is really new. And we mean a way of reaching people. Like, how are you reaching your audience? The example here is Afrocats and Whitworth. So the Whitworth is an art gallery in Manchester. And Afrocats is an award-winning charity that works with refugees, asylum seekers, and socially excluded people. And so in this project, they were working together. The first bullet point is adaptability and creativity in your approach to reaching families and older people in need. So how do you reach them? Why do you reach them? And why are they in need? So in this case, the question was, how do you get people that don't usually go to the gallery to come in, feel safe? How do you remove barriers to get those audiences through the door and help them have a good time in the long term? So that's why the Whitworth worked together with the Afrocats charity to really develop how do you gain that trust. And they run gallery like open days every school holidays. So every holiday there's an activity with artists and different things going on. The next bullet point is working with target audience and recognizing their needs in the planning, development, and delivery process. So in this case, they gather evaluation data each school holiday, and then they use it to improve their process for the next holiday. So they really know what people thought about it. And one example is that since February 2023, all signage and activity displayed during the school holidays is provided not only in English, but also in Urdu, Farsi, and Persian to alleviate language barriers and make the space more welcoming. Next point is consideration of collaborative and partnership opportunities to improve and increase the engagement with families or older people. So in this case, the project is literally a partnership, but what we want to know is how far does it go? So in this case, it's not just a one-off, it is a long-term thing. So in addition to the event and the things you saw at the surface, the Afrocats have also delivered multiple training opportunities to all of the staff at the Whitworth to help them and provide knowledge, understanding, and empathy to welcome people who are seeking asylum or who might not have gone to the gallery previously. So this is really an organization that is really changing the way how they are working because every employee is getting trained in something. And so this is what we're looking for is like far-reaching impact. And the last point is evaluation includes feedback from target audiences and demonstrates positive impact for families or older people involved. So we already mentioned that earlier, that every holiday they look at the feedback that they got and then they use it to improve the next version. And one thing that we found particularly interesting in this case is that given that there are so many languages in the room, they decided to adapt their evaluation materials and make it picture-based rather than language-based so that they can really get everyone's opinion. So again, someone is changing the way how they're doing evaluation to adapt to their audience. So that this is something that we find interesting in this case. Right, now we are in chapter 3, the most exciting one, where we tell you how to submit a good application and present your project in the best light. So first, we're talking about the form. It seems really easy, but please ensure you answer the questions, okay? Like, answer all the questions. If it's a 2-part question, answer both parts. And don't assume that we will know anything else. We only know what you tell us. So please pick the relevant information and put it in there. We're not going to Google you. We're not going to go on your TikTok to find out about anything we don't understand. So just write everything that is important in there and keep the judging criteria of your category in mind. So the information that we just went through, this is what we're looking at when we're shortlisting or when the judges are looking at your application. This is the type of information that we're looking for. So please give it to us. And we're going to go through an example to show you what relevant information means, okay? So we have 2 texts. They are fictional, okay? They're not from an application. We made them up to show you some points. So those 2 texts, they talk about the same project. The first one is, we ran drawing workshops with kids from the local school with artist Kim Smith, Bachelor of Fine Arts, University of Glasgow. We had a successful exhibition of drawings at the local farm. Okay, so that sounds lovely, right? It's a good project, beautiful, but there are lots of details that are missing that could make this stronger. And so there's the second text that shows a bit more what we're thinking, what we'd like to hear. And I know the second text is much longer, right? But this is just an example, it's kind of a best of to show you how to get the information in. So for example, first sentence, we ran 15 weekly drawing after school workshops for 5 to 8-year-olds at Argleton Primary School in a rural village with low arts provision. So that tells us already who is this actually for, where are you doing it, and why are you doing it? And the fact that you're doing it at a primary school tells us, okay, the children are already there, so it's probably a low barrier environment. It's probably practical for the parents to drop them off there or to pick them up later. Also, it says in the second text, parents and siblings were welcome. Okay, perfect. We know you have considered the rest of the family. It goes on to say, workshops were led by Kim Smith, BFA, who has 5 years experience in community arts. Structure was based on a pilot project we conducted in 2022. So in the first text, it says the artist has a degree, but actually that doesn't tell us if they're good at working with children in communities, whereas in the second text, it says that the artist has experience with that, and also that you've done a pilot project and that you have used that to analyze what the needs of your community are. And the last sentence, it goes, we collaborated with the local farm shop to organize the final exhibition, creating a low barrier environment for local families. In the first text, we just know that the exhibition is at the farm, but we don't know why, right? Maybe nothing else was open on that day. Whereas in the second text, we know you went to the farm because it's a low barrier environment and you make it more welcoming. So all of these things give us context for your work, and they are really, really useful to know for us.
So alongside your application form, you'll be able to submit supporting material, which Daniela talked through a bit before. So we really do encourage you to use the opportunity to add supporting material. It makes a good application stronger. Your photos help to show context and bring life to the application, like give us a little window into what happened. Your supporting material document can also include additional info and data, so it can show us what others thought, can really tell us like about the feedback you might have collected. So really kind of sing your praises and the evidence that it was really impactful for people. And we really encourage you to be precise as well. So we've got a comparison here. So rather than just telling us parents' feedback was positive, tell us what the parents' feedback was. Or like, for example, here, after 5 weeks, 90% of parents rated the project as good. We really want to hear kind of what that feedback is, what that kind of qualitative or quantitative data is, rather than just you telling us it was good. But yes, so just to remind you as well, so what that kind of supporting material looks like is you can have a maximum 2 sides of A4, which can include participant feedback summary, evaluation findings, it might be press reviews or screenshots of your website or social media reviews, kind of whatever you feel like really helps to support your application. And then you can also include 5 photographs which represent your application activity as well. So that's per category. So for each of your applications that you put in, if you put more than one. So we come to question time. So we thought we'd just cover a few questions that you might have. If you've got any other questions, if you want to pop them in the chat, and then we'll get you can also have the opportunity to raise your hand once we've gone through these too. But we thought these were some kind of key questions which often come up around the awards. So first of all, is my project or organisation too small? No, absolutely not. It's all about impact. And we're very aware that small organisations, like one-person organisations, grassroots projects, can have a real impact. So yeah, definitely don't think that you are too small for the awards. What counts as a creative project? So something that involves creativity as an integral part. So you can check the online portal for the different art forms listed, and there are quite a lot. But so just to note, we do not consider sports or coding projects unless they also have artistic elements. So we're really looking for that creative or artistic element within something. It might be on a completely different topic that isn't necessarily creative, but the approach that you're doing with the event, activity or initiative has a creative element. And then if your project is touring, what data can you present? So you can use the data and feedback you received from venues. If you have no access to audience data, you might like to contact venues to kind of share that. But yeah, we're aware that obviously that can sometimes be trickier. So anything that you can share to help your to help your application. And then how long does it take to go through the portal? So with a fast internet connection, we've timed it and it takes 15 minutes to copy and paste and upload everything. So you do spend some time kind of doing that. Don't leave it to the last minute in a rush, because yeah, there is quite a bit to kind of fill in and complete to make sure you've got everything there that you want to include in your application. And also it means that if you do have any issues or any kind of questions that come up, you've got time to ask us as well, so we can help you. So that brings us on to a question time. So has anyone got any questions? So you're welcome to put them in the chat if you have any, or raise your hands and ask directly if you would prefer. We haven't got anything yet, but we'll just wait a moment in case anyone's typing. So Mary Ryder has asked, so what advice do you have for organisations who have applied many times but still been unsuccessful? So we've really put together the guidance here to really help you kind of shape and put your application together in a way that can really demonstrate kind of the amazing work that you're doing. So hopefully that has been helpful. You are welcome to apply if you've applied before. And yeah, if there's any more guidance or questions that you have regarding improving your applications, then please do ask us that. But hopefully this has been helpful to kind of shape a bit more about like how you can improve it. We've also added a new resource on the website, which is further guidance on applying for the awards, which has got some handy top tips on kind of what not to do and easy mistakes that we've seen in the past to kind of help guide with those as well. But yeah, it is popular and we do get a lot of applications for the awards generally, so it is quite competitive. But yes, please do apply again and best of luck with it. Have we got any other questions? Did you have anything you wanted to add, Daniela, to that?
No, that was perfect. And Mary just put thank you in the chat. So
thanks, Mary.
So Alex is asking, do you have a preference for how much space is allocated to each bullet point on the support document? Excellent question. When you look at the application form, it's pretty much that one question reflects one bullet point on the of the judging criteria. So you don't need to write a long essay and space it out. You'll see that there's like one box for each thing.
Yeah, and then if you're thinking about this, like the supporting materials as well, really those 2 A4 pages, you can kind of shape them however you want, because it all depends based on kind of what you've got, like what feedback or evaluation or press reviews. So that really just depends on you and what you think highlights what you've done the best.
We have another one from Taylor. If your project has many different strands and locations, i.e. work in schools, libraries, and so have different styles of delivery to suit these spaces, would you prefer to focus on one strand within a project, or can they all support each other in the application? Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you want to answer that, or shall I go?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so yeah, that's a very good question. And I'd say generally it's quite, you could include all of them. However, in this instance, so with the work being with schools and libraries, imagine the work with schools is directly with children rather than a family setting. So what I do is I'd shape your application to talk about the parts of it and the strands that were really aimed at family audiences rather than just kind of a school setting. But that could, if that is across different things, so if that's libraries and other kind of events and locations, then I think that's fine to kind of be more broad. But yeah, it's always key to think about how the work is benefiting families and different members of the family rather than like just the children for a school, if that makes sense, Taylor.
I would also add to that even if you decide to focus on one strand of your delivery, you can still mention maybe that you have learned from other parts, because nothing exists in isolation. And also what happens sometimes is that we have projects that have been going on for years, right? But our eligibility period is just 1 year long. So you really want to focus on something that happened during that period, and you can still look at how do other things influence it, what have you learned, how is this relevant? There's another question in the chat also from Mary. Do judges weight the judging criteria at all? E.g., is impact more important than quality? Is involvement more important than suitability? So each of the 4 bullet points, or 5 bullet points, depending on your category, is equally important. And usually what we see is also one doesn't really go without the other. So for example, it's not really a black and white thing, impact more important than quality, because usually if your quality is very good, then you will make an impact. Or if the quality, like if the artistic quality is not very good, the impact will likely be lower as well.
Yeah, so from the point of view of them being weighted, yeah, they're equal on how the judges will approach them. Thank you for those questions.